Assalamu alaikum, my name is Mohammad Taimur and today I'll be teaching you how to make 3 networks using routers. First of all, we will be needing 3 networks. I'll make 3 networks and fast forward over that area. Now to connect these routers with each other, we'll have to insert ports in them first. Now to insert ports in the routers, click on the router. You can see over here that this is a router. Zoom in on it, close the router, add the port and turn it back on. Repeat the same thing for the other routers as well. Zoom in, turn it off, add the router and turn it back on. Now that we have our ports in the routers, you can just simply add this wire or click on the router, click on the serial ports and over here as well and connect them together. Now I'll assign IP addresses to these PCs, so I'll fast forward or skip that area. Now I'll configure this router. Now I'll configure all of these routers for the respective ports. Now there are two terminals for each router. This one is connected to another router as well as this one, and this one is connected to the switch. Now I'll configure both of these ports so they can connect with each other. Click on the router, come to CLI, press no, press EN for press enter, press EN for global and enter configure T. Now this opens the configuration of the terminals. Now now it's up to you if you want to configure this one or this one first. First of all, you have to note what this interface is. This is SE0/1/0. Open it up. You type in interface SE0/1/0. Press enter. Now we'll give this an IP address. Enter IP address along with the IP address you want to give, 100.0.0.1 with the subnet mask of this IP. Since it's of class A, the subnet mask will be 255.0.0.0. Press enter. Press on no shutdown and exit. Next we'll do the same thing for this one. This interface is GIG 0/0/0. Enter interface 0/0/0. Then assign an IP address to it. IP address 100. No, I'll give it 10.0.0.3. The subnet mask of 0.055.0.0.0. No shutdown and exit. This one I noticed that I didn't write the command properly, so this pop came, so I'll have to do this again. Interface SE 0/1/0. Go to IP address again 100.0.1. This is the subnet mask. Enter and it has been successfully entered. No shutdown and exit. This has been configured. Now I have to configure this one and this one. I'll fast forward over that area. Now that we have configured all of our routers for each other, we have to now configure them to route with each other. Now if I send a message from this network to this network, it will keep failing because I have not yet configured it to route with each other. So first of all, I'll route this router, this network with this network, and then this network with this network. And I'll do the same for these two networks as well. So to configure this network to allow communication with these two networks, I'll first click on this. I'll enter IP route, and if I want to configure it for this one, I'll just write down the gateway of this one, which is 20.0.0.0.0. I won't write the last IP address, the last octet. It'll be written down as 0. I'll add the subnet mask, and then I'll write the IP address through which the router is connecting with the other router, which is 100.0.0.2. So this will be like 100.0.0.2. I'll press enter and I will exit. This means that this router has been configured to communicate with this one, but this network has not been configured to communicate with this one. So to do that, I'll click on this router. I'll press enter. It is already in configuration mode. I'll write down IP route, and I'll do the same as I did. I'll do the same as I did for this one. I'll write down 10 dot IP route 10.0.0.0.0. I'll write down the subnet mask, and it will be going through the port 100.0.0.1. So I'll write 100.0.0.1 and I'll enter exit. This says these two connections have been configured for each other. If I send a message, the first one will always fail. As you can see over here, the first one will always fail. After that, if you try it again, now the second one failed as well because I did not assign the gateway to it. The gateway is this configuration when we did this. Over here, I'll just type in 10. I'll type in 10.0.0.3. I'll do the same for the rest of the PCs and I'll be back with you. Now if I try sending in a message from this computer to this computer, it will fail the first time, and the second time it will be successful. Let me show you again. If I send a message from here, it will be successful. It will only fail once. For example, if I send from this PC to this PC, it will fail once, and if I send it again, it will be successful. Now no matter how many times I send it, now it will always keep being successful. Now I've configured these two networks to communicate with each other. However, this network has still not been configured for either of these two networks. So for starters, I'll first connect these two networks with each other. To connect these two, I'll click on this. To enter into configuration mode, I'll write configure T. I'll write IP route. I'll enter the gateway of this network, which is 30.0.0.0. I will not enter the last one because I'm assigning a new IP to this connection. I'll go with the subnet mask 00 and I'll enter the port through which it is coming from, which is this port 110.0.0.2. I'll press enter and I'll exit. I'll do the same with this one. I'll press en configure key. I'll enter IP route. The gateway of this network is 20.0.0.0. Enter the subnet mask and I'll enter the port through which it is flowing, which is 110.0.0.1. these two networks have been configured for each other to communicate. Now to test this, I'll send this with this. It'll fail the first time, and the second time will be successful. Same with this one. It will fail the first time, and the second time it will be successful. Now if I keep sending messages from here to here, it'll keep being successful. It only fails once with the pair of computers. Now these two networks have been connected with each other, and these two networks have been connected with each other, but this network has not been connected with this one. So in order to connect this one with this one, I'll go here, I'll configure T, I'll write down IP route. I'll start off from this gateway, and I'll be going through this port, this port, this port, and at the end over here. So I'll write 30.0.0 with the subnet mask 0.0.0, and I'll write, first of all, I'll write this port, which is 110.0.0.2. Press enter. I'll do exit. I'll go in configuration mode again, and I'll do the same for this port. I'll go for IP route. However, I'll be writing this gateway for all of these ports because I want to connect this network to this network, so I'll be using this gateway for the connection, and I won't be using this gateway. I'll be using this gateway to connect this port, this port, this port with this network. So I'll go for 30.0.0.255.0.0, and I'll write down this port, which is 110.0.0.1. I'll press enter, exit, and now the data has been connected from this gateway to this port to this port. I have to connect to this port. I'll go into configuration mode again. I'll write IP route 0.0.0, and I'll enter this port number 110.0.0.2, and I'll press on exit. Now I've made a connection from over here to over here. Now I have to make a connection from here, from router 0 to router 2. I'll go into configuration mode first. I'll write down IP route. I'll do the same as I did for this one, except I'll be using this gateway to connect this port, these two ports, to this port. So I'll be writing 10.0.0.0 to 55.0.0, and first of all, I'll start off with this port 100.0.0.1. Press enter and exit. I'll come back in configuration mode. I'll type IP route 10.0.0.0 to 55.0.0.0, and I'll enter this port, which is 100.0.0.2. I'll write down the same gateway with the same subnet mask, and this time I'll be entering this port, which is 110.0.0.1. I'll press enter and exit, and hopefully these both networks have been connected to each other. Now to test this, I'll send this to this PC, and it is successful. Now this one didn't fail at once. Didn't fail at first try because all of these PCs were once tried with the other network and it failed at that time. So it only fails once in a lifetime of the network. So all of this is successful. I can try this one. You can try different combinations, and it will work. This is it for today. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments below. I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.